Alrighty, let's make ourselves a blog post. Hello, I'm Michael with WriterSanctuary, and today we're going to be taking a look at how to set up a blog post in WordPress using Yoast SEO. Yoast is one of my favorite SEO plugins for WordPress, and I'm going to show you why. So the first thing I did is I went through my spreadsheet and I found the article that I wanted to write, and I did a little bit of research on it. So we're going to write an article about the best YouTube channel art apps. And our Yoast focus keyword is going to be YouTube banner. Now this is going to be kind of important when we start writing our article because we want the whole thing to flow right for the topic. This particular key phrase has 10,000 plus searches per month, and I am going to aim for an article that is at least 3,200 words long. But you got to remember that you should never try to force a certain number of words in your article. You don't want to fill it with filler and fluff. You want it as detailed as possible, but you don't want to force the content. Because when you start forcing the content, not only is Google going to flag you for it, but you're going to lose your readers. So we're going to take our Yoast focus key phrase and we're going to go to our blog post, and we entered it here on our focus key phrase. Now with Yoast SEO, it doesn't need to be verbatim. Yoast is going to detect it whether it's in the entire sentence. So like say X best banner makers for YouTube channel art, YouTube and banner are part of the key phrase, and Yoast is going to pick it up as being part of the title. That's because when you start using long tail key phrases, you don't want to use them verbatim. It's going to make it very difficult to read, and it's a mess, and it just doesn't flow right. Not just for readers, but for Google as well. The whole point of a key phrase is to give the audience what they're looking for. And if you use it naturally throughout the article, you won't have to worry about trying to keyword stuff it. That was a big practice back in the early 2000s. Nowadays, Google wants humans writing for humans, and so you want it to be more natural, but you still need to include those phrases so that A, Google knows what the article's about, and B, you're hoping to get somebody's attention by what they're searching for. And then I've also included several secondary phrases that I want to add to the article because it is relevant and it might be helpful for people who are looking for those specific key phrases while they're searching in Google. Now, one of the reasons why I like Yoast SEO so much is because it gives you these two little colored lights. You have a red frowny face for SEO and a green happy face for readability. This is to let you know that certain aspects of your article need to be worked on. Like in readability, the passive voice is great, consecutive sentences, there's enough variety because I haven't written anything yet, and the subheading distribution. Obviously I haven't created any headings yet, so all of this is going to be kind of like its default. But when we go back to the SEO part of it, it's going to flag us because we don't have any outbound links yet, no images, internal links, the meta description, or the text length, because you really should write for more than 300 words. I usually aim anywhere between 1,500 and 2,000 depending on the article. Essentially, I just write until the article's been described. And sometimes that means it's a shorter piece, and sometimes it means I wind up putting like 5,000 words out. But every single sentence of everything I create has a purpose. No filler and fluff. But on the SEO tab for Yoast, you have your premium tools, which if I had the licensing for it, I would love. I'd love to keep it. I have it on WriterSanctuary, and I really do enjoy all these extras that comes with it. But we're going to take a look at the Cornerstone content. Now, Cornerstone content is essentially a pillar post, and that's when you have an article that goes kind of basically glosses over certain information, and each section branches off to another article. So think of a pillar post as kind of like a tree. You have your trunk, and then you have all the branches that come off of that trunk into their own little topics. So for example, when I wrote the article for how to upload a video to YouTube, I plan on doing a deeper dive into each section of the YouTube upload process. So it's kind of like branching off into a whole bunch of other topics that are still relevant to the main core. And in Yoast SEO, it's similar to the Cornerstone content. So when you do have something like that, you would enable Cornerstone. That way Yoast knows to promote this article specifically. And technically, this is going to be Cornerstone because I'm making a list of the best places to create your YouTube channel art. And then you have things like your advanced tabs, which probably isn't a bad idea to go through and read up on how to use them all. And your insights. Now, half the insights are locked behind the premium, and I loved this tool on the other website because it'll show you all the prominent words of your article, so you can kind of keep in mind what you're writing and have an idea of how it's going to appear to Google. That way, if certain terms are more prominent throughout the piece, you can make adjustments and try to fix how search engines and people are going to see your website. But probably one of the most important aspects is the Flesch Reading Ease score. Now this is a score that's based on how difficult it is for people to read your content. You want to keep this number 60 and up. Now you got to keep in mind that the average user on the internet reads at an 8th grade reading level. Unless you plan on putting out medical documents or scientific papers or even writing up legal documents, which do probably require, I wouldn't say require, but will have a higher degree because that's your target audience. Try to keep it above 60. And yes, it took me way too long to get that out. Okay, so let's look at some of the basics of the post itself. So when you're looking at WordPress, on the right hand side you have post and block. Now normally you'll be on your post screen, which will show your visibility, when it should be published, the URL of your website, of your page, and a bunch of other tools. Like you'll see the Yoast SEO. These are the basics for the readability and the SEO analysis. You want to try to keep these two green. And you also scan your content in real time as you're typing it. So you'll see that go green, yellow, red, back and forth all the time throughout the entire article. So you don't necessarily have to turn every single point in Yoast green, but the closer you can get to it, the better. And that's just what works best for me. And then we have our categories. We're going to change this from uncategorized to a collection because it is a listicle. Remember we talked about those in the last video. And so far, I think I'm probably just going to wind up leaving it as collections because why not? And then we have our tags. Remember how I talked about them in the last video as well. And our tags for this one will probably vary. We'll definitely do the YouTube, channel art, which is one I've already used because I did write an article about a review on Canva on whether Canva is a good tool for using for YouTube channel art. So this post that I'm writing right now, which is a listicle, is going to feed off from it because Canva is going to be in this list to its review. So it's creating that branch I was talking about. And then we have all of our other things like the featured image, which we'll add at the end of the article because that's normally when I create them. The excerpt, and this excerpt will be shown on the front page when it shows the, in the last video I had the widget that shows the articles that come up, and the widget that I'm using will use the excerpt as kind of like a teaser text before somebody clicks on it. And then we have all of our other options like light speed. We can disable cache and all that other good stuff. Depending on the art, the plugins that you install, you will have more tools here. But for the most part, that's pretty much all it is for now. So what about the block? Now the cool thing about WordPress is that you have block settings. So like if I was to click into this block, which is a paragraph block, and I go to block, it's going to show me all the different options I have for this particular block. Now I'm running WordPress vanilla at the moment, as close to vanilla as you can get. And so I've only got the background and the text. I can change those two. I can change the size, the typography if I wanted to. I can't, maybe I shouldn't mess with that. I can't remember where the text was. I think it was 16. But then you have advanced tools, so like you can create HTML anchors and add additional CSS if you know anything about CSS. If you don't know what these are, don't worry about them. You don't need them. Essentially, those two features are just there to add more oomph to your post, depending on if you know how to use HTML and CSS. But every blog in WordPress will have something different. So like if I was to put in, let's say we add a button here. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to use a button in this particular article, but let me show you what it looks like. From here, we can we can start typing the text. This is a button. Oop, I hit enter to add another one. I don't want to add another one. From here, we can change its alignment when it appears on the blog post. So it's going to be centered, and we'll see that in a preview. We can add a link to whatever the button this is going to. This works great for affiliate marketing and stuff, or if you just want somebody to tap to go to another page. But we can change this text to be bold and italicized. We have a few more options here, but on the block here on the right, you see that we have a couple of other options. We can make the width even bigger, 100% across the whole screen. Or we can change its style. So we have different colors we can add to it. We can add an outline if we'd like. Obviously the background colors, we can use the gradient right there and say we want to do blue. Let's see, click that, I want to make that darker. Wham. So you can do all kinds of groovy things with your button. And you can also change its radius. But yeah, whenever you add a new element to your post, chances are you've got some adjustments here on the block that you can make if you want. It's not necessary. Personally, I like to try to keep my buttons somewhat relevant to the color scheme of the entire website. So in this particular case, it would be shades of purple or blue. But in any case, all we have to do now is remove that because I don't need it, is to write the article. And that's where all the fun stuff starts coming up. One more feature I want to show of Yoast SEO is when you are writing, let's say we want to know, okay, so here's a good example. Sentence length, 100% of the sentences contain more than 20 words. So it's more than recommended, try shortening the sentences. What if we don't know where that's at? Well, we just hit this eyeball here, scroll back up, and it'll highlight the sentences that are affected. Now Yoast has this ability for both SEO and readability, but not for everything that's there, mostly for the keywords and the sentence structure itself. So you can highlight certain things that you might want to change and go through and read, and if it doesn't need to be changed, then don't change it, but it's definitely something that you should consider. But in this case, I'm going to disable it because it's technically not a sentence, it's just I put the words in here that I want to add to this article specifically so that I wouldn't forget that I want to add them. And so when I do add them, I wind up deleting them from this list. And then once our article is finished, we just hit the publish button, and then we can set it to publish immediately or schedule it for a future date. I know that was kind of a quick glance over how to create a post, but essentially that's all there is to it. Everything else is going to depend on the tools you install and the content you create. I just wanted to provide a quick once-over of why I use Yoast SEO and some of the tools that I do for creating those blog posts. In the next video, I'll be tackling setting up some pages, which are the static content I mentioned earlier before in a different video. And we're going to be setting up an About Us page and quite possibly a contact form, or I might separate the two because there's a little bit that goes into it because I'll be using a plugin specifically to show you how to do it. But in any case, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. For more videos about setting up a brand new blog, hit subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell. I think you go do it for me today, and I'll see you next time.